Okay. So welcome Renee as well.
Hi.
Well, yes, welcome everyone. This is the first live conversation in the new year, 2022. And this online conversation is brought to you by Move into the Future and the Wize Move Society, the online community for the over 50 generation. The Wize generation is growing rapidly. We're living longer, are longer healthy and active, and are better educated than ever. And there are many reasons why this generation should play a significant role in the economy and in society a lot longer than they expected when they started their careers. So we believe that the over 50 generation has a significant role to play in the creation of the future. We just need to tap into their knowledge, experience, and wisdom. And with this Tuesday live conversation, we aim to give you a glimpse of what is happening online on the Wize Move Society, to share a bit about both the challenges and opportunities that the 50 plus generation is facing, as well as how the members of the Wize Move Society work together to create solutions and play an active role in society and the economy. So we're very clear about one thing, and that's we're not on our way out. We are part of the future. So today, for those who joined us on Zoom, and I see that Renee is here and Deborah is here, and of course, Bernadette and Tatiana. There will be more walking in, and that's great. If you want to join in the conversation, just share your questions, your comments, etc. If you are joining us on Facebook, please share your comments in the comments below. So my name is Ingun. I'm the founder of Move into the Future and the creator of the Wize Move Society. And I'm here today with my co-host, Tatiana Rowson from the UK, and our guest, Bernadette Keogh. I just asked her how to pronounce it. So this must be good. So Bernadette is a mindfulness and mindful eating coach. So that's very interesting. And we have a great topic for today, especially, after the new year and probably a lot of good intentions out there, eating for health and longevity. Very important topic. So before we dive into this topic, I would like to ask my co-host, Tatiana, to introduce herself. And she will hand over the floor to Bernadette, and later on in the conversation, Deborah and Renee will jump in. So, Tatiana, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Ingun. So happy New Year for everyone listening to us. Yes, it's exciting to start 2022 with this topic. I am an academic. I am a psychologist and a researcher. I research what happens in midlife and beyond, and aging, and how to age well and what it takes to age well, which means looking into our health, our well-being, our work, our purpose. And I'm really pleased we have Bernadette with us today, because there's one point that if you listen to our conversations, you see me touching all the time, is the issue of health, where the opportunity is very important for over 50s. Actually, maintaining good health is very important as well. And health should start early in life, and it's something that you should never stop looking after. Having said that, even when you start later, it's better starting to look after our health than never starting to look after our health. So there's a simple rule there that it feels like common sense, not always common sense when you look at the literature, the research out there. So I'm really pleased to pass on the mic to you, Bernadette, and let you introduce yourself and let us dive into this topic. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And yeah, very, very happy to be here today. So as Ingun kindly said, I'm a mindfulness trainer and a mindful eating instructor. So I studied the MB Eat, evidence-based mindful eating program that's been developed over 30 years. And also I'm a nutritional therapist. And I really found that so I practiced nutritional therapy for 7 years, and I always felt there was something missing. So I can educate people about what to eat, but there was always some missing link. And when I studied mindful eating, that's when I discovered the missing link, because nutritional therapy helps us think about the what. So what are we eating? But mindfulness brings in the why, the how, and really helps us get a deeper understanding of things. It considers things like our emotional well-being. We can look at emotional eating, stress eating, and really understand these important elements that can actually be triggers for us to make certain food choices. So really delving in and understanding our whole being and all the elements of eating, rather than just the food that we eat. And also what mindful eating brought in is we don't label foods as good and bad. This is another thing that we move away from. And so the two terms that I found that I really like are whole foods and play foods. So and a lot of people, this is a massive shift for them when they kind of, chocolate becomes a play food, it becomes something fun again. So we remove the guilt and we can really start to enjoy all foods again while staying connected to our longer term health goals. So this is what it's all about. It's this balancing act between our longer term health goals, the outer wisdom, which is all the wonderful research around foods that support our health and well-being, but then that inner wisdom, what's needed right now. And a phrase I use a lot in my course is sometimes only a cookie will do. So knowing sometimes to eat for emotional support is also a choice that we have. And there's a way that we can do that to avoid potentially overeating, for example. So there's ways that we can bring mindful awareness to our eating experience. And what else is involved in our inner wisdom are things like hunger cues, stomach fullness, body satiety. So all these cues that we've kind of lost trust in a little bit because we've kind of submitted outwardly to diet culture or nutrition culture and lost the kind of that inner wisdom that really has our best interest at heart and this connection with the body. So often living neck upwards and this disconnection from all this wisdom that we have within the body. So that's kind of a little bit of an introduction and a little bit of how I work with food. So it's not just about the nutrition, that's one part of the whole picture.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you, Bernadette, for this first introduction. And today we talk about this subject, eating for health and longevity. And, you know, if you look at the age group that we're working with, you know, the 50 plus generation, you know, we talk about longevity, you know, we live longer than ever. So why do we need to work on our health? You know, that's a common thing, you know, we live longer anyway, so why bother?
Yeah, and for me, this is about the quality of life. So it's not just about the quantity of life, it's about the quality of life. So we're living longer. Let's ensure that we're living a quality as well as a quantity of life. And that's the core thing. A lot of lifestyle diseases can be influenced by our lifestyle choices, and nutrition is one of those factors. So that's why it's important.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And of course, in our whole healthcare system, we became very knowledgeable on how to solve all these issues. So that is also why we live longer, I think, in the end. But I totally agree with you. We need to live healthier longer and not unhealthier longer. Yeah. Tatiana, you said there were some numbers and things like that.
This is an interesting conversation about quality of longevity versus just longevity as length of time that we are alive. because recent data shows that the longevity and increased health some of us were experienced before is not the case to younger baby boomers and younger Generation X, because that's a generation that's already been exposed to a lot of processed foods and with that a lot of bad habits of eating habits, and interesting enough is having an impact on how this longevity looks like in terms of chronic diseases and chronic conditions in later life. So Bernadette, building on that, I have a question for you. What is in people's minds when they come and see you? What is their motivation? What's their desire when they get in touch with you and say, hey, I just want to understand that side of my life?
Yes, so there's several reasons. Sometimes it's weight loss, so they feel that they want to lose some weight, but when we delve down even deeper, it's always a bit more complex than that. So it's really people get to a point where they know that they need to change, but they are confused by a lot of the information that's out there, and they struggle to make long-term changes that support their health, and often kind of, again, diet culture offers these quick fixes, but what we find is that 95% of diets fail. So that's a statistic, Tatiana, we might have to kind of verify that, but so it's not just about dieting and a quick fix, and the people who come to me realize that, and that they want to make long-term health changes. And I always say I don't offer a quick fix, it's a lifestyle change, it's a way of life that you will carry on into the future. So people are kind of experiencing chronic illnesses as well when they come to me. Many kind of suffering symptoms of menopause that they want to sort out. Fibromyalgia is another kind of common ailment that people are suffering when they come to see me. So more chronic illnesses, autoimmune illnesses I see as well. And then it's really kind of this balancing act of really looking at all the systems in the body and really trying to get to the core root cause of what's going on, rather than just treating the symptoms, which our medical profession does very, very well. But sometimes people want to go a bit deeper and get down to that root cause and come back into a balance. And nutrition is one element, but I also kind of look at then the lifestyle elements as well. And also this relationship with food, when people can understand their relationship with food, what triggers them to eat certain foods. This seems to be a very transformational piece in the puzzle of regaining health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Some people think that whole foods, that it comes in a box with a label on it.
Whole Foods is a food chain, right, in the US?
It's a supermarket chain, yeah. But whole food, you mentioned whole food and play food. I love that, and a cookie can be enough. Well, for most of the people, it's just a whole packet. That's it's not that one thing, but just a definition of whole foods.
Yes. So whole foods. One way is to look at foods as close to nature as possible, with as little processing as possible. So if we look at, an easy example would be to look at whole grain wheat versus, the refined wheat, which is the white products. So when we're kind of comparing whole foods versus the play foods, the refined foods have had all the fiber taken out of them. And what happens then is that the sugar, the natural sugars occurring in these foods, are released into the bloodstream quicker. And this is where we start to see challenges in the longer term. If we eat a diet high in these refined foods, that we start to see challenges with insulin and diabetes, but also things like obesity as well. And research has shown that they did an experiment in a hospital so it was a very controlled experiment where they fed one group a whole food diet, so things like vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, and then they fed the other group a refined diet, so which had all the processed foods. And what they found, they fed them the same amount of calories of these foods, but they found that the people who were eating a refined diet needed more to feel satisfied. So this is the other thing about whole foods, they're more satiating. You feel fuller for longer with them, and therefore you aren't on this kind of roller coaster of the sugar highs and lows. So that's kind of the difference. So I think thinking about food as close to nature as possible, and beige foods or white foods are often, like if you think about sugar, white rice, the white bread, the white pastas, these are more refined, but also I like to not just think about one food in isolation, because that's not how we eat. So adding healthy fats, vegetables, proteins to our meal is also going to slow down the release of those kind of natural sugars in the foods into the blood system. So there are ways we can balance out refined foods as well by adding other foods.
There's something, Deborah, 1 minute. There's this whole discussion here now in the Netherlands, and you probably have seen it. They published a chart on the social media, of course, well, in the news, what our university hospitals are offering our COVID patients who are in hospital. And that was very refined, it was, if you look at it, I was like, the drinks, there was lots of sugars, I'm not going to name brands, but in my perspective, not good. There were snacks that I thought, okay, this is really crazy that you're offering it to these people, because sugar also is very inflammatory. And these people, they're in that bed and having a lot of issues, and then they get this food that I feel like, oh, you should not be doing. But then there was one of the explanation was, well, there's a lot of people who are overweight here, and this food is as close to what they're used to. So then they at least eat. But that might also be the reason why they're there.
Oh, I think that's a very tricky area. We're getting now into politics as well. No, but it's a very interesting area to think about. And I will touch now here with my psychologist hat, and then I'll pass Deborah to you, is that we have these narratives we tell ourselves. And the narrative of the calories, thank you, Bernadette, for bringing that on, is one of them. Not all calories are the same. I'm not a nutritionist, but I know that nevertheless, some of us just take on this narrative. If I am within the right calories, then should be okay. And actually that's not quite how it works. And especially as you think about aging, and we're thinking about later years, not as the younger old, but the older old, that there's a huge issue around nutritional variety and the ability to absorb different nutrients. That's the way the body evolves, that if we're not very careful, we get quite a lot of people, not overweight or obese, but a lot of people undernourished because they don't know how to eat well for their health. So it's an interesting flip side of that as well.
Absolutely, yeah. But we do have Deborah, Renee, and Honora also arrive from Zimbabwe. So that's really, we have quite some people from all over the globe. Deborah, you wanted to jump in.
There's an interesting conversation, and sort of what comes up for me is that why somebody would be off is that their body is leading the way. They're listening to their body. And what I like what Bernadette is saying is, the mindfulness aspect kind of breaks that train, because the train has got to do with the brain. And it's breaking those neural pathways so that there eventually becomes more of this integration of the mind and body, because their internal compass is now kind of off. Add stress and sitting, and that's sort of this slippery slope down to being very interested in things that probably aren't so good for ourselves, because we're also very used to it. But the movement, the breath, the mindfulness brings back that resilience so that the mind and the body can work together to create a sense that you're choosing the right things at the right time. And I'm a sweet eater, black chocolate, with nuts, but I love it. But I have the flexibility that when these desires come up, I can put them in the right place. And choose the right things, because one, I know what the right things are. I've been educated, but also I have an internal guidance system with my body that it's telling me that doesn't feel good. And so relationship to the body and the mind is crucial. So the mindfulness aspect, very important.
Great.
Bernadette, I also have a question, and it was sparked by Tatiana, who was talking about the older people, because what you many times see, and taking in nutritions, what you see many times, my mother-in-law is one of them, the drinking, taking in fluids, water, tea. I know coffee is a dehydrator, but anyhow, taking in fluids is getting more difficult. How important? I mean, I know it's important, but how is that happening? That all of a sudden, I mean, I love my water and my tea. So how all of a sudden it's happening that we have most probably a natural avoidance tendency. How is that working? Do you know that?
It's interesting, yes, and because I do hear this. So one really interesting reason is because they don't want to keep going to the toilet.
Yes.
So this is a reason
Very
that I hear
important.
a lot. Yeah. And then the other thing is kind of, that the habit, if you think about getting up again as you get older, and imagine getting into kind of the mobility goes a little bit. So actually getting up and getting a drink could also be the element there. But naturally our appetite diminishes, and so I don't know the science exactly, but I imagine the thirst is potentially related to that kind of diminishing kind of appetite as well.
Very interesting. Yeah.
So we work on habit basically. When I'm working with clients, it's all about gradually building these healthy habits. So, and it can be as simple as having a 500 milliliter bottle that you keep with you, and you drink a certain amount by a certain time to just keep track, because it can be quite hard to lose track as well of how much you're drinking. So it's about intention and habit forming.
Very good.
Well, I am someone who always struggles with my weight. Well, it came later in life. I think around, my beginning 50s. And that's, now it's harder and harder to get it off. And yes, when I do something, a program, not so much the diet, it's more the program, it's gone. And then, you just slip back into where, well, Renee, that's not your problem, is it?
No, that's not my problem at all. I'm on my detox again.
We have to start all over, and I move a lot, lots, even today, I told them this morning, I have 9 meetings, but I'm already at 8,500 steps, you know. So, and I did my yoga this morning early, obviously, but you know, there are still so many things missing that you feel like, and that is probably the relationship with food. And then again, you know, I have a gluten issue. So when I move into the supermarket, it's vegetables.
Het lijkt erop dat je
Oh,
de...
sorry.
Geen probleem.
That's Siri. Enfin. So it's the vegetables, and then a lot, nothing, the nuts, bit fish or meat, but still, you know, I'm able to eat it on. It's probably the wine. You know, it's also the moment that you have fun and that you're enjoying yourself, and that's the hardest thing. It's not the moment that you are alone. It's more the moments that you are having company and
Yeah, I
so
think, to be honest,
analyze me.
I think you reading a lot about how normal and social we find it to drink a glass of wine, and I remember then, you know, when we were young. I'm now 64 since 2 weeks or so. So when we were younger, it was just an exception when you would have a glass of wine, and gradually that became, at least in some circles, I guess, let me be personal, but I know, Ingu, you recognize it. It's very social. And even if you say, no, I want to have a mineral water, you almost get looked at like, hey, we are at a party or we're at dinner. So there is a trend, though, here in the Netherlands, definitely with non-alcoholic, like beer, wine, gin, whatever. So I think that society and companies are already sort of helping us there, but whether that's so healthy with the non-alcoholic alternatives,
I'm not sure. Alcohol, no.
Yeah.
So Bernadette, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. I think that what we have to be aware of is weight in particular is not just based around what you're eating. So Ingun, I know how hard you work about the causes you're passionate about. So there's an element of stress in there, which obviously is going to impact things. And also, yeah, I would say it's about balance as well. So really an intention. So for example, if you look at the blue zones, a glass of wine is not something that is going to, it's not just that one element that's going to be causing this. So, but it's about intention. Each kind of situation that you go into, what's your intention here? Because I find that's very powerful, because if it is to enjoy one glass of wine, because what's important here, that social aspect. So again, blue zones, this social aspect is so important. So going in with this intention, I'm going to enjoy a glass of wine. I'm going to enjoy the socializing. And the other thing, because I talk about this in other kind of circles as well, it's about being open, saying, actually, I'm only having one glass. That's I'm going to enjoy a glass, but that's it. And don't be afraid for the kind of backlash that might come, because potentially you can just stimulate an interesting conversation around this. Maybe other people are not aware, and it would be useful for them to be more intentional about how they socialize and how they kind of drink. So again, it's not about all or nothing, because already on one of my goals this year, when you ban something, what happens? You can't stop thinking about it. You know, you create this charge around the thing that you're trying to avoid. So let's stop banning things and start to become more intentional about how we and more mindful, really being there. Because even like I do this exercise in one of my courses where I get people to bring some of their favorite food, in particular comfort food, and we do a mindful eating exercise. Very slowly they eat as much of this comfort food as they want, and many of them are like, gosh, you know, one piece was enough, one square of chocolate was enough, because they were mindful, they were there, they were aware of the taste satisfaction, they were aware of, you know, how satisfying it was, they enjoyed it. Some people are like, I can't believe that I bought this as my favorite food, I don't like how it tastes, because they've just, you know, automatically been consuming it. So I think if we can bring intention, mindfulness, savoring to experiences, and this connection with the body, I think this balance is what can help us move towards our goals, rather than all or nothing thinking. If that's helpful.
It helps, yeah. And Nora, you had your hand up.
Oh, okay. Benedict, I wanted to ask, if I approach you for a quick fix, maybe weight loss, why can't you do it? Then after that, we try and maintain, and also maybe help me have a good relationship with food.
So I think if somebody came to me for a quick fix, I would say maybe go to a dietitian if this is your goal. But then I would also explain how I work in a holistic way, and that it's not about a quick fix. And often 9 times out of 10 people will decide to work with me rather than going for the quick fix. But what I want to raise here is personal choice. And whatever you feel is right for you right now, find that professional who resonates with you, if that makes sense. So probably a dietitian who can help with restriction and exercise and things like that. They would probably be the best port of call. And then I would be more than happy to work on the longer term lifestyle change for the prevention and the maintenance, if that makes sense. Because I wouldn't be an expert at the quick fix either. That would be the thing.
That's right. Did it help, Anora? Good.
Yes, it did help.
Good. I really would like to move back to health and longevity, because this is actually, it is a huge issue. We're now talking pandemic, but if you see the health issues of our older generation, and that older generation by now is huge. And I always have the example, in the Netherlands, 50% of the population is over 50. So if we talk about that generation and really moving, getting older, we need to watch our health. And that is also what at the Wize Society, that whole part in our program of health, working on healthy aging, is so important. Healthy aging, longevity, the whole influence on, if people do age in a, the sick way, there's a lot of stress that we put on the hospitals, on our whole healthcare system, on, the whole care system, that people, are they going to stay at home, or are they going to end up in a old people's home, or do they really need, but also, for instance, the mental illnesses, dementia, Alzheimer's disease. It's also, if you look at research, more and more related to lifestyle, health. I would really like to move into that. What can we do? And to really work on that part, healthy aging, to prevent that we end up in those homes or end up in the healthcare system.
Yeah. Shall I kick off?
Yeah.
So I think from a food perspective, I like to look at, because everybody's individual, everyone's on a different path and a different point of their journey. It's all about looking at where people are now. So where are you now? And then what can we add in? So really, and the key elements is, we talked about water, but that ensuring that we're getting our fluids in. So whether it's water or herbal teas or warm water and lemon, but aiming for our 6 to 8 kind of glasses or cups of herbal tea a day. So this is the uncaffeinated drinks, and building it up. So if you're not drinking any water a day, if you can get 1 glass in, you know, that is progress, and gradually building this up. The whole foods, so just switching out some of the refined foods, the refined grains, to whole grains, for example. And again, just remembering that you have to personalize this. So some people who are experiencing digestive issues might not be able to cope with the whole grains. So I want to raise that as well. You have to do a personalized approach, but whole grains are one of those elements where we can start to easily swap things. It's not a massive change. Getting in fruits and vegetables. I talk about eating a rainbow of fruit and vegetables a day. So when I'm in the supermarket, I look and I say, do I have a rainbow in my basket? When I eat my food, have I got a rainbow on my plate? When I'm cooking even, can I add something else in to get a bit of colour in? And, you know, again, if you're not eating any vegetables a day, if you can get 1 portion in, this is progress. And then can we gradually build up? I like to kind of recommend a couple at lunch and a couple at dinner. And lunches, to get, you know, to be practical about this, we can bring in a soup. I know in the Netherlands in particular, there's lots of great soup recipes, but we can get vegetables in easily at lunchtime in a soup that you can bring to work in a flask or easily have in the fridge at home, bulk cooking. And then those two, most people in the Netherlands at least can get those 2 vegetables in at dinner. I think that's quite common already. And then, yeah, looking at the types of fats that we're eating. So as much as possible, trans fats are going to be found in your play foods, basically. So just we know that they're there, but things like olive oil is a really great, easy addition that we can bring in. So what can we add in? Some olive oil would be one of those things. And just a small handful of unsalted nuts is another really easy way that we can protect our heart health, for example. We can bring in some more fiber. So these are like, you know, so if you just took one of these kind of tips to introduce them, this is what's going to help. And another thing, what we're seeing in a lot of the research is that plant-based, so I'm not saying everyone has to be vegan, but can we introduce one evening a week where we have a plant-based meal? So we swap out mince for lentils. It could be, it's a simple little swaps so that we can kind of bring this healthy kind of balance into what we're eating. So that's what I work with clients with, very simple swaps, because and then you know, you gradually build up on that, and you notice it all tastes great.
Yeah, but it's the food, and I also hear you say the relationship with food, but it is also the lifestyle.
Yes, exactly. And you know, you look at the blue zones, it's kind of the movement, it's sleep, which is really important, it's managing stress. So this is where mindfulness and yoga and these types of practices can be very, very helpful to build resilience, to build our resources and things. So exactly, nutrition is just one part of it. But the whole package, the whole lifestyle element is also very, very important.
Thank you, Bernadette. I find it's really refreshing to have this conversation with you. I'm really pleased that we're able to have and record and stream that, because I think very much goes with other conversations we had before. One of the things that I wanted just to highlight, even just to highlight for anyone listening to us, is stress and lifestyle is not just only eating and what we choose to eat. We are in a better position to make choices that are connected to our body when we learn to slow down, when we learn to you know, take some time and take breaks. The other thing that it resonated with me and resonated with a lot of research out there is this idea of self-compassion as well. If that one day you made a bad choice, well, move on from that, and then tomorrow is another day. You start again, rather than an all or nothing approach to health or to eating. And I'm looking at Deborah on my screen there, exercise as well, because it all goes together. So I can see Deborah put the hand up.
Yeah, this is a very, very important point, and it's listening to your body. And whatever your body is telling you, it's actually talking to you loud and clear, and it's having the wherewithal to start understanding what it's saying. So it does take time to interpret what the body is saying, but it's a journey. It's not like you have to know right away. It's respecting what's there, listening, so that you can bring yourself more into balance. And when you're out of balance, I mean, maybe you do live a balanced life and then there's a stressful situation, but now you've got the tools and you've got the resilience. For the resilience is really an important word. It's, you recognize, you feel when you're in balance, you feel when you're out of balance. And so you can calibrate your own life as to what you're doing on a moment by moment basis. And that balance is where we're all going for longevity, because if we're going down this road for a long time, we have to have the tools that can do it. There's so many simple things, like the diet is the nourishing aspect, nourishing of all aspects of our wanting to eat food that makes us happy and satiated, and the breath. You're breathing, so you're breathing all the time. How you breathe is really important. Just through your nose and taking a nice, easy breath, extending it a little bit without going into any details, that just settles you down so that you're more in your body. And being in your body feels so wonderful. You feel grounded, and then you feel more connected to make better decisions. There's so many simple things. You don't have to go out and do a bunch of things. You can just start listening to your body. It will talk to you loud and clear. Yeah.
Deborah, I have to say that I now, whenever I go for a walk, I think of you when I close my mouth.
It makes a statement. Shut your mouth.
I breathe through my nose only.
There is one comment on Facebook, Deborah. It's from Jane Anyango. Interpreting what the body is saying isn't easy.
No,
you have to learn how to listen to your body.
That's it. It takes time. And that's why I love yoga. It's taken me into my body. Yoga is different in that you can turn anything into yoga, right? And when you do something, when you're present, you're more in a state of yoga than when you're just doing your exercises. So it's a training. It's a recalibrating the brain, recalibrating the whole physiology. So if it is difficult, then just switch the attitude to say, it's actually enjoyable. When I'm present, I feel more light. I feel more easy. I'm more receptive. So you're learning what that all is, and be compassionate, as Tatiana says. Be compassionate with yourself to go on that journey. Being mindful, being very mindful. And the brain has been going in this other direction for so long. You got to give it a break. It's got to learn. It's got to learn to come back home. To come back home. Thanks for that question.
All the new pathways and all the learning. I want to add one thing as well that's important to our conversation, just as a statement, because we're talking about healthy eating, and I really appreciate the approach Bernadette's bringing to the conversation. So again, I can't thank you enough. But we can't say that every illness is down to nutrition and lifestyle. It's important to say that some people do have conditions that come from the genetics or from other roots, and you know, we're not blaming people for not taking charge of their nutrition when they are ill, but actually quite the opposite. But if you do, then maybe we'll get a little bit easier, or we'll make it a bit more bearable, whatever condition you have. So I think it's important to say that, so all these people listening, they feel they are included in the conversation as well. So can I have a final question? So Bernadette, I can see the time. Can you tell us a bit about people that come to you for recovery? Exactly that kind of situation I mentioned. You have a condition, is a condition that there you are, you know, it's a lottery of life, but they're coming to you to maybe get back and look after themselves.
Yeah, it's there's a lot. So you mentioned self-compassion, and I think there is a big element of this really self-care becoming a way of life, and accepting where we are now, because there's always a lot of frustration when you're ill, when you can't potentially do the things that you used to be able to do. So there is, even though I work around nutrition and mindfulness, there is this element of accepting gradually where we are now and our limitations, and then it really is how do we move forward now? So there's always kind of tweaks to nutrition or supplements, those types of things which can help the body's healing process. So it's always complementary to any other care, because I work with an international health centre in The Hague as well. So many of my clients are seeing doctors as well. So it's always complementary, and it's all about, you know, what's needed now, how can we best support this healing process. But it's never just about the food. There's always this element of the mindfulness, the self-compassion, as well as those other kind of foundations of health around sleep and that. So we always look at what's the priority this time as well, because you can't do it all at once, and it really is this journey. So really looking at what the priorities are, and gradually working towards balance and health. Does that answer the question?
It does. Thank you. Thank you.
It's a very individual approach, and that brings me also to another question. The Wize Move Society and Moving to the Future will put a lot of focus this year also on the workplace, what is happening there. And I think it was Tatiana who mentioned in the beginning, we need to work on our health from an early age on. But there's also, you know, the workplace, and of course people work a lot from home right now, but there's also situations that people, you know, spend 40 hours per week behind their desk, and not having the opportunity to, you know, to work on their lifestyle, or to, and I know that you also work in organizations. What is it that you recommend in organizations that they change to give people the opportunity to work on their health at least?
Yeah, so what I find is that companies do want to support their staff, and some of the expectations that staff believe there are, like they have to be on call 24/7, that they should always be answering their emails within a certain amount of time, those expectations come from the staff themselves as opposed to any management. So it's starting this conversation about work-life boundaries as well as digital boundaries, because this 24/7 switched on culture, we're hearing things like digital burnout now as well. So really what we are doing is we create conversations within teams, within companies. I've done sessions for 200 people actually, and out of these sessions, you see lots, and they're all online, and you see lots of conversation coming through. And at the end, some of the realizations are, right, I'm actually not going to be answering my instant message immediately anymore. And teams start to put in kind of structure around these boundaries. And so when it comes to work, I think it's a conversation that has to happen within a team, within a company. It has to come from the top. It has to be a cultural change, and providing as many tools and tips, practical tips as possible, to help people to be able to take breaks, to leave their laptop, even things like Zoom fatigue, which is a real phenomenon that's been studied by a lot of universities. Very simple things that you can do. A life-changing tip for me was to hide self-view. If you hide self-view on a Zoom call, it's a lot less tiring for you. So we share all these kind of simple little tips that can help take a bit of the pressure off staff, and also getting them really to think about a personalized self-care plan for themselves, about how they can show up and maintain their balance and build resilience. So it's nutrition is one element, but there's the mindfulness, there's the stress, there's the balance element as well.
Okay, fantastic. A lot of work to be done. Yes, good. Well, you're one of the teachers at the Wize Moon Society, so we'll see more of you there. Renee, Tatiana, anything you want to add?
I would say a final thing, because this time of the year we see everywhere people with those lists of things that they want to do. Oh, I want to change this, I want to make that, and we see year in and year out, probably by the end of the month, that's all gone downhill. So, just one or two words to that, Bernadette, that we can say to diffuse that idea of those magic lists that people make.
Yeah, thank you, Tatiana. And it's very, very kind of pertinent as well, because I've been running some mindful reflections and intentions shops with companies and with groups at the moment. And my kind of tip would be, we don't have to do it all at once. So if you have 10 goals, spread them out throughout the year. You don't have to start them all now. Secondly, what's missing from traditional goal setting is asking yourself why you want to do this. Ask yourself 10 times why you want to do this, and you will probably get to this really emotive reason. So take this kind of emotion, this emotive reason, that will help motivate you towards your goal. Secondly, goals are great, but an intention is even more powerful, because a goal is a destination and intention is how you show up every day. And infuse these intentions with self-care, because goals can be have a sense of striving, can be very kind of all or nothing thinking, whereas an intention is really how we want to show up day by day as we work towards our goal. So infuse that daily intention with self-care as well. And then good luck with it, but start small, and then the key next thing would be to just break down this goal into the 5 small steps that you can take as you work towards one of these goals. So really breaking it down, and create accountability. That's another way that we can ensure that we're going to achieve our goals. But I would say, don't try and do them all at once, and try and bring in a daily intention as you work towards the goal, which is infused with self-care.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you.
And celebrate successes when they come.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I just want to thank you, Bernadette, for your, I've met you once in one of the calls, but I really loved your holistic approach, and also very practical. So I'm looking forward to see more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Renee.
Yes, thank you. Well, to finish off, thank you all who have been watching. Of course, the ladies here and Deborah and Anora, they had to leave already for the next meeting. But thank you all for joining us. This is a glimpse of what is happening at the Wize Move Society, that community online for the 50+ generation. And we really love to welcome you there as well. And let's all work on that healthy aging, so that's in the end, when we all turn up in our 90s, that we can still do all the fun things in life instead of, waiting and seeing what others are doing. So thank you all again, and love to see you soon online. Bye-bye. Thank you, Bernadette.
Thank you.